We've all had a bad job before clocking into a place that we hate, but these 5 NBA players are currently the most toxic work situations in the NBA. How could you have a list without starting off with Jimmy Butler, aka Himmy Butler, aka It's Not My Job, Jimmy Butler? Jimmy has literally carried the NBA drama during this season, like he carried an 8-seed Miami Heat team to the NBA Finals. Jimmy Butler is not happy in Miami, we know that. The only winner of this entire drama is Kevin Love's Instagram. Miami Heat fans are freaking out. Miami ownership freaking out. Kevin Love, profit. He's making memes. He's dropping clips from the Wolf of Wall Street. I'm here for it. We already saw the evolution of NBA players become podcasters, but now it's NBA players becoming shit posters. I love it. Jimmy Butler wants a max contract, but he also wants to win. So when the Memphis Grizzlies are like, hey, come here, we have a contender, we'll extend you, Jimmy says, no, I want a max contract and I want to win. And so the Grizzlies are like, yeah, that's what we just said too. And then Jimmy's like, yeah, but not in Memphis. Jimmy Butler is being a diva. And this sucks because he's one of the most likable players in the NBA, but he has thrown tantrums, quit on this team, refused to play, demanded a trade, refused really solid trade destinations. Now he's wearing a Bulls jersey for a post-game interview. Plus, it's the Jordan 45. It should be a misdemeanor to wear the Jordan 45. Unless you're like a rapper holding a 45. No, there's no good reason to wear a 45 jersey. And it's funny that Jimmy Butler wants to get pushed to Phoenix because that is the second most toxic situation. Yusuf Nurkic, a.k.a. the Nurk Bomb, a.k.a. the 4th best center on the Phoenix Suns, is having a bit of an attitude problem. He got taken out of the starting lineup, and his response was to catch a cold. He's using all of his sick days at work. Right now, Nurk is calling the Suns. He's like, I'm very sick. Cannot play today. And the thing is, there's not a single team in the entire NBA that wants Yusuf Nurkic. He makes $19 million next year. The NBA is just like all of us. They've been suffering from inflation, cost of food, the cost of private planes. We all relate to that. And money is harder to get in this NBA. With the second apron, this NBA is not going to be paying Yusuf Nurkic $19 million. I don't even know if he could make $6 million in this current market of 2025. But that's how much he's owed next year to be the 4th best center on the Suns. And the dude is laterally cooked. The dude can't guard anyone. He's not a consistent outside shooter. He has the capacity to pass, but his playmaking is rough. So it's like, I don't know who this situation is more toxic for. Is it toxic for the Suns or is it toxic for Nurkic? But it needs to change. Maybe he gets cut. Maybe he gets traded in a bigger deal. But because of that second apron, the Phoenix Suns don't have a lot of options. But a team that does have a lot of options is the New Orleans Pelicans, who somehow are having one of the most interesting seasons in the entire NBA. Why is it interesting? Because of this player, Brandon Ingram, who is in the most toxic situation, but it might not be bad for the Pelicans. Let me explain. Brandon Ingram, former number 2 pick, looks like Kevin Durant if Kevin Durant stopped cleaning himself up. Some people say homeless Kevin Durant. I say poor hygiene Kevin Durant, but they have similar game. These are both big, long wings that play like guards. They do everything on offense well. Ingram doesn't really pass, but even then, he has the capacity to pass. He just often chooses not to. And we're in this weird situation where the Pelicans have been awful, but mostly due to injuries. This Pelicans roster is nice, and it's relatively young. Ingram is like the vet on this roster, but the Pelicans already have a wing that is long, that can shoot, and his name is Trey Murphy. And he's younger and on a cheaper contract, and that he's their player of the future. And then they have another wing that is long, and he can shoot a little bit. It's Herb Jones. So now you're sitting here, and it's like, where does Brandon Ingram fit on this team and what they do in the future? I don't think he does. But he's in a contract year. He wants his. He wants an extension. He wants to get paid. And the Pelicans are not going to be the ones to pay him. So now we're in this weird situation where Brandon Ingram doesn't have a home. He doesn't have a future. Now we're in this weird situation where Brandon Ingram does not have a future with the Pelicans, and he knows that, and the Pelicans know that. So are the Pelicans going to trade him? Are they going to trade Zion? And I think that's what they want to do. They want to build around this core of DeJounte Murray, Trey Murphy, and Herb Jones. All reasonable contracts, all younger players. But right now, as constructed, there's no reason that the Pelicans would want to showcase Ingram and up his value. But also, there's this idea that like, oh, if the Pelicans don't trade him, they lose him for nothing. But I'm not sure with the second apron if lose him for nothing is a real thing anymore. It's so hard to keep your own players and extend your own players that I'm not even sure that getting rid of Ingram and he walks in free agency is a bad deal. But a player who can't walk in free agency because he's under contract, a big contract, is Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine has 2 more years of making max money after this year. But you know what's different from Zach LaVine and the other players on this list? Zach LaVine is in his prime. Zach LaVine is a max player. And with the new second apron rules, when you give a max contract to a player, they have to play like a max player. And that is what Zach LaVine is doing. Look at this. This season, Zach LaVine has more 30-point games than Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, Damian Lillard, Joel Embiid, Donovan Mitchell, Ja Morant, James Harden combined. The man's true shooting has skyrocketed. He's hitting the 3 ball, top 5 percentage in the entire NBA on massive volume. He looks like he could be the best player on a well-constructed team with low-level contender status. But if you take Zach LaVine and now you make him the 3rd best player on a contender, what would Zach LaVine look like on the Oklahoma City Thunder? What would Zach LaVine look like playing next to Nikola Jokic? Why is this situation toxic? It's because the Chicago Bulls have no future. The Chicago Bulls have been stuck in NBA purgatory, just edging us that they're going to rebuild. They have no clear direction. And everyone's talking about Vooch and whether or not he gets traded, maybe to the Warriors. We made a video on that. But LaVine is the one who is suffering because unlike Jimmy, this guy is showing up to work. This guy is putting the energy in, and it's on an effort of a team that is losing, that doesn't want to keep him long-term. So this situation is toxic. It's not good for the Bulls because they want to lose as many games as possible. And LaVine's over here helping the Bulls win as many games as the Phoenix Suns, helping the Bulls win as many games as the Golden State Warriors. That's not what the Bulls were supposed to do. They were supposed to be bad. You know it. I know it. LaVine knows it. LaVine is playing like an all-star, maybe even better than an all-star, and he deserves to be playing meaningful basketball after the trade deadline. Tell me in the comment section, where do you think LaVine should go? Also, like, subscribe. This is NBA Trash Talk. And finally, we're going to get to maybe the saddest situation of all of these, and that is another Phoenix Sun. Man, the Phoenix Suns are involved in all the drama. That is Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal has a no-trade clause, and Phoenix wants to trade him. And that is the source of all the toxicity. Bradley Beal has actually not played that bad this year. He has limitations. He's not a good defender. He's not good off the ball. When he's your 3rd best player, he doesn't play like a max contract, but he's your 3rd max contract on this team. The math ain't mathin'. Not only is Bradley Beal's contract hard to move, but the fact that he has a no-trade clause has created one of the craziest quotes I've ever heard an NBA player play. Bradley Beal was interviewed and he said,
"If so, I need to be addressed because I hold the cards. So until I'm addressed and somebody says something different, then I'm going to be a Sun."
I've never seen a player say, "I am holding the future of this franchise in my hands. I can reject any trade." He said the quiet part out loud. And so now the Suns are like, how do we get this guy to want to leave? So they take Bradley Beal and they put him to the bench. He didn't throw as much of a fit as Nurk did, but you can still tell he's unhappy. So the question is going to be, the Miami Heat don't want Bradley Beal's contract. The question is going to be, can we find a 3 or 4 team trade that gets Jimmy Butler to Phoenix, that gets Bradley Beal out of the Suns? Where does Bradley Beal end up? I don't know. It's hard to find in the modern NBA a place where Bradley Beal makes sense on a team that wants to contend, and his contract is so long that a rebuilding team doesn't want to absorb him and take that. These are my 5 most toxic situations, but I want to hear from you guys. The thing I love most about this channel is the sense of community. Jump in the comment section. Tell me who you think is toxic and where you want to see them end up. This is the Trash Talk channel.